Hello and welcome, Star Wars fans, to this week's episode of Duel of the Ranks, a show where we debate takes so hot that they'd melt a planet with twin suns. My name's Brody, and I'm joined by my co host Amanda as we attempt to discover what story is truly the best from a galaxy far, far away. On this week's episode, we're going to be discussing some ranks and some hot takes from the Clone Wars Season 1, Episodes 13 and 14. By the end of this episode, we'll have a definitive answer on where these pieces of Star Wars content ranks amongst the rest. But with that, I still got to get my numbers in. I got them. We watched the show before we came on to this thing. I wrote them down.
You pressed record and you were like, wait, now I'll do the podcast
Now I'll do
prep.
my job. Now I'll do my podcast prep. We're doing it live. We're doing it live, people. What did you think of this episode?
I actually really liked these episodes, and I don't want to. The thing is I don't want that to influence your ranking of it.
Well, I already wrote my numbers down, and your numbers are high.
My numbers are the highest of any of these Clone Wars episodes that we've watched thus far.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so tell the audience what happened.
Okay, so we're reviewing these two episodes. The first one is Jedi Crash, when Anakin Skywalker is gravely injured in battle. Jedi General Ayla Secura must teach Ahsoka the Jedi philosophy of having no personal attachments while they brave a hostile planet in search of medical help for the Jedi Knight. And the second part of this story is Episode 14, Defenders of Peace. While the Jedi combat a new separatist weapon, the pacifist Lorman must decide whether they will lay down to the oppressive separatists or fight with Anakin, Ahsoka, and Ayla Secura. So actually watching this again, this was one of the episodes that I remember watching the first time around. Like I was like, oh, this is familiar because it had lingered with me for so long.
And can we talk about how the animation got so much better all of a sudden out of nowhere?
It really did. Like that was one of the first things because the episode starts off with a big space battle. Like Ayla Secura's ship is like going down in flames. There's a bunch of the separatist warship is there and they're totally outnumbered. And it kind of reminded me, we're jumping way ahead here, but to season 7, like sort of how the whole series like wraps up with the Siege of Mandalore. You have like Ahsoka on with these clone troopers like falling into a planet, and Anakin kind of jumps out and is like, you know, being all rogue and stuff. But what I really loved about these episodes is we really got to learn more about our characters. We saw Ahsoka questioning the Jedi way, and we got some character development, I think, from everyone across the board. You see everyone responding to this species that is very like pacifist, like they don't want anything to do with the war, and that puts every single character, whether it's a clone or a Jedi, they have to reflect on what that really means.
Yep.
Like they're like, oh, we are peacekeepers. And they're like, how can you be a peacekeeper if you're fighting?
Yep.
And they're like, wait, I didn't think about it like that before. So I love a Clone Wars episode that really stresses the weight of war and the conscience of war. And I think this one was awesome for that.
Yeah, I didn't get any of that out of it. I thought it was fine. Look, the episode was fun. I didn't give it a bad ranking, and let's go ahead and tell the folks what we gave everything. I gave the first episode a 67.8. You gave it a 78.6, which averages the first episode out to a 73.2. Whereas the second one, I gave it again a 67.8, which makes sense. They're both like part A and then, part A, B, but they're both the same thing. So very similar number wise. And actually they're not the same numbers. I just realized that
you put them in wrong. That's what happens when you do it live.
I did it live, and it's the wrong number. No, I'm like, hold on. I gave them I was like making it up as I go. I'm like, yeah, it's part A and part B, but I'm like, I don't believe that though. I'm like lying to myself.
So which one was the better of the two?
Oh, well, I don't know yet.
Oh.
I'm about to see. I've got one more number to input, and it looks like the better one was the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the first one was better.
Because like think about it, the first one we start off with like such intensity. It also like you already mentioned, it brings a really great first impression because there's a lot of action happening on screen and it feels like the color and the animation and the effects are just like leveled up and not lagging. I don't know. It
Yeah,
felt leveled up.
to me, I agree. It did feel leveled up. I thought it was mostly lighting that was adjusted, but hey, there could be more, and I just missed it. I mean, it was fine.
But we got a lot of action. Like think of we actually got to see Anakin like slicing through droids, like
Yep.
making moves, Jedi moves, and being like significantly outnumbered by droids. And I loved in the second episode when we get Ayla, Ahsoka, and Anakin. How many more A names can we throw in there?
Yeah, I know.
But it's them against like a whole like
Just like a fleet.
battalion.
Yeah, of them, yeah.
Like they're like, all right, send round
Wave after
one,
wave.
send round two. And that was super cool. I was like, this is Star Wars. This is Clone Wars. I love that we're meeting a new species. They have an entirely different outlook on life. It's not like they're just simply written to fill in wherever they need to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. When they started talking, I was very disappointed that he didn't sound like King Julian. And
The monkey?
Yeah, I was very disappointed. And instead, he's a Scot, this great Scottish accent, and he brought it. It was deep and
Was he Scottish?
oh yeah.
I don't know. I thought he was like French, which are not similar accents at all.
No, because like the son totally had that Scottish accent for sure. It's like, oh, Dad, we can't go. He was like, we've protected our way of life this long, son. We can't get in now. We can't change. He's like, but we can. We're gonna let him die for us and fight for us. We're not gonna do a thing. We will.
We will.
We will.
Okay, the French accent I was thinking is Ayla Sakura. She has sort of an accent,
Yeah.
which is similar to Hera's.
Yeah, there's Twi'leks, that accent, just French.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
It's French.
Weren't Twi'leks supposed to be like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought like it makes sense. Like they're a more romantic people. They're more in touch with emotions and feelings. And they are like this way of like, I believe this is something I read somewhere. I don't know, but they have ability to just entice others and just get them to be interested in them, which is an interesting thing I want to bring up in this episode because, well, I remember Ayla Sakura wearing like whatever crop top in the original series. I think there's been some adjustments to the character, far wider hips, the midriffs are far more exposed, and I find it really interesting that all the male characters from the movie, like Anakin and Obi-Wan, they have more armor now, but the female characters are just going in, crop tops and all, saying, all right, we're ready for battle.
Yeah, they're like, right here, this is where you want to slice me in half, where my guts are like just clean.
Right there. Yeah.
I'm glad you brought it up because it is disturbing and it's really unfortunate. And this isn't the only time we see female characters get designed and presented like this. It just doesn't make sense that a female warrior would leave her entire torso unarmored. And also like her boobs are like out. I know this is sort of a family podcast, but like
I know.
It's so low. Yeah. It's so low. And then her hips, and then it's like her belly button's like in the middle. So that means that like where is her pelvis? Like how are you designing these characters? And also just like give Ahsoka a t-shirt. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is definitely my least favorite part about this. It's unsettling. But she is a badass.
Yeah, no, both Ahsoka and Ayla Sakura are great characters, and they're not portrayed to be like, oh, I'm like the damsel in distress trope.
Right.
They're like, no, they're badass, and in some ways you could argue like, oh, it's more empowering because they look fantastic, but they're at the same point they're able to stand up for themselves and everything else, which teach his own. That we're not here to have that debate on the show today, but for me, it was just like I thought it just interesting that the men characters have more clothing than they had in the movies, whereas the females like we're gonna up the ante with because I did think I'm like yeah, I think they like widen the hips and everything else that the actual actress like didn't even have herself. So
Right. And it's
okay.
you are very intentionally like the way that they contour her like stomach, and her midriff is very just unsettling.
It's like a kid's show. So that's
Yeah.
kind of weird. But anyway, that's Star Wars. All the
Yeah.
way back to the slave Leia days in the 1980s.
Hey, we call her Hut Slayer Leia now.
Do we?
Yes.
I don't see that anywhere.
Are you kidding?
I hear you.
Being Hut Slayer is way cooler than being a slave.
But she was enslaved. That was
and
the whole
she
point.
slayed the Hut.
She did
with her bare hands and the chains that he attempted to.
I love it. Wasn't that also added in by Carrie Fisher? I think that was. I don't think she was supposed to be the one to take Jabba out.
Well, I would not be surprised because that's very in Carrie Fisher's forte.
Yeah. Now look, it's not about the story starts, it's how the story ends. She was enslaved and then she slayed. So either way, to each his own. At the end of the day, it's just been a part of Star Wars that I do think is changing. You can go back to video games and whatever else, and there's just people can design all sorts of characters that
I'm glad that at least in the Ahsoka series, they managed to keep all the female characters like generally clothed. Like Sabine doesn't have a midriff,
Yeah.
Because it doesn't why would she?
Yeah.
Unless she was working at like a club. I don't see why that's necessary.
Or she's like a physical trainer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sabine. That's like she quit everything else. This is what she does now.
Okay, I also wanted to call out in that first episode, the way that Anakin actually gets injured is he is stopping the ship that they're on from blowing up, and he pushes Ayla, Ahsoka, and the clones back into like their escape pod, and he takes the blow of this explosion and it kind of knocks him unconscious. That's Kanan. That's Kanan's sacrifice. That's the same thing Kanan did.
But Anakin was just more powerful.
I mean,
there was a door there to like prevent the fire from.
Yes, that, and also, yeah, Kanan did that on like a fuel tank. So
yeah,
that's a lot more powerful generally. Yeah, but overall, I really liked the Lumens. Wait, hold on. Let me make sure I'm calling them that.
Scottish Madagascarians.
Yes.
Yeah. The lemurs.
Lerman Village.
Can't call them a lemur.
Yeah, because they did have that vibe to them. But I think that they brought a really interesting perspective to the Clone Wars. And it's a great thing for kids to see, too. I like how, in the end, it's the younger Lurmans who convince or kind of like go against what the elder is saying, which is like, don't get involved, don't do anything. And they're finally like, we need to, like, we won't exist if we don't participate in stopping this. And they still found a way to be nonviolent and participate by like wrapping all their legs around and making them fall. And then Ahsoka just goes,
yeah.
So
I mean, look, I enjoyed that dynamic with the characters. Like they knew they had to defend themselves because if they didn't, they would be just done. But at the end of the day, I thought the whole arc, it was fine. It was just
I
fine.
loved it. You're wrong because we also got these really cool they were called Mastiff Falons, the avian quadruped that attacks and lives on the planet Meriden, which is where the Lurman village is. I thought they were pretty scary. They're like a vulture, like four-legged vulture.
How does that have to do with the content being fine?
Because it introduced I thought it was cool because it introduced a new creature.
It was cool. Like I said, it was cool.
It adds to the immersive universe for me. I also liked that the music had kind of a tribal wind instrument.
I did like that. The
like,
woodwind sound. That was cool.
Yeah, that
I'm
went
with
well.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, overall, our numbers are really similar. I mean, you're saying 68 or 78.6. I'm saying 67.8. So we're close. And on the next one, too, undoubtedly, the Clone Wars has taken a step up. I'm saying D level, but getting up there. You're saying C level. It's good. This is by far the best arc we've had yet. And when we look at the stats here for the Clone War arcs, this is a 71.5. The next closest is 64.4, and a couple in the 40s and a 50. So obviously, this is the best yet.
I do want to talk about the main separatist weapon that is introduced in this second episode, because it is a new creation. It is being tested for the first time. Lock Durd, which, what a name, is the name of the separatist leader who's testing what is called the defoliator, which is a great name because it destroys all organic matter and leaves machines unharmed. And it essentially is like Oppenheimer, the Clone Wars episode.
Okay.
Because like the bomb goes off and it's like destroys everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this is timely because we just saw Oppenheimer last week. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting too because they have this tech, but I don't know if it's ever utilized outside of this instance in Star Wars. I can't think of any other movies or.
I think it makes another appearance in a Clone Wars future.
They're like,
arc.
you know what? We're gonna put all our eggs in the Death Star. We want to kill everything, not just organic matter. So
yeah.
We're gonna put our time.
I mean, it's a really well thought out weapon. Like if I was running a separatist army based on on robots being my soldiers, that's definitely the weapon that I would use to win the war.
But would you be a separatist?
No,
I think you would, because they're like there's an order to the things, and Count Dooku's like, yeah, screw that. Here's this other way. We're gonna like throw this different movement, and you guys, there's all these 1%ers that are speaking for us, and at the Senate, that's dumb. We're gonna introduce this socialist.
See, but then the separatists make it seem like they are giving a voice to the people that they are protecting, but really they are stifling them.
100%.
Yeah.
But don't you think you'd be a separatist? Like you would take I think you just, more than anything, you'd be like, I have a chance to break the order that's been for thousands of years.
That is very Scorpio.
And create something else. You're like, you know what? You guys might get hurt, and I'm sorry, but we'll take care of you in the end. But right now, we got to get rid of this Senate. I think you'd be a separatist.
I don't think I'd be a separatist. I think I would be like a total contrarian. Like, I'm not going to be a Republic or separatist. I'm going to be like
Asajj
Ventress. I'm going to be Saw Gerrera. I'm going to be in the middle.
Those are the scariest. I can't with Saw.
There are a lot of weight to each side.
Yeah.
Neither side is totally good.
I mean, both sides are just Palpatine at the end of the day.
Yeah.
No, I think the separatist movement, like what makes it really appealing to me is that it's the ideas of everyone who are jumping into it. They're not Palpatine. They're not, Count Dooku or anything else. They're just regular, like just planets with leaders who are like, hey, we're not being represented. We don't have food. We don't have these resources. We need to survive. And this republic couldn't care less. So.
And to be fair, though, like the separatists also don't care, but they need them in order to like gain ground in the war. So it's really like politics in America. The parties just keep on fulfilling their own agenda and kind of leaving the general pop to fight it out with each other.
Yeah, but could you imagine though, like if the separatist army, like something that I think would be interesting, what if there was some leader within the separatist movement that was calculated and intelligent and not a military general like General Grievous, but someone who was a bit more tactical and more operations minded and saw like, this is just one big sham.
Like
this
you mean thing. Admiral Thrawn?
Yeah, someone like that who kind of moves up the ranks but is able to kind of see the system at play and say something's off and kind of detects it.
And starts to question it.
But questioning it, like if there's someone else up top that could have their head, shouldn't just speak up. But then over time gains ground, gains popularity, becomes extremely popular with all the separatists, almost starts his own political campaign, and then becomes the face of it. I mean, can you imagine something like that happening? And then, yeah, you could have the fall of Dooku, but that doesn't mean the end of the war. You have this other person who's like, well, I wasn't even aligned with this guy anyway. We're going to do this now.
See,
And then,
that to me seems like what Thrawn is like written and designed for, to be that kind of almost the antithesis of like the I was gonna say the Republic.
Empire.
The Empire. Bleh. But yeah, I also have not read the Thrawn books, so I'm sure that idea is going to offend some Star Wars fans when they re-listen to it. So
they're already offended. They've already offended somebody somewhere with some take. No, I mean, I just think it'd be interesting to have someone like that, because I feel like so far the characters in these shows are very two-dimensional, kind of dumb, and like, all right, Count Dooku's bad because he's bad. And yeah, like now they're adding more weight and story to these characters, but you don't have really complex villains or heroes yet.
yeah,
And that's what I'd love to see. Someone, because a separatist, there is something interesting that it's easy to manipulate these people because they need food. But what if you had someone beneath, like I guess in Palpatine's case, someone beneath them who detects it, sees it. Obviously, Palpatine's going to sense that and try to take that person out. But you're kind of, I guess, hoping for an Andor type political war within the separatist movement that actually advocates for
that would
those
be a
planets.
cool story.
Yeah, and like obviously that guy's getting put down. I mean, Palpatine's
Yeah.
not gonna like,
Well, it almost kind of, when you said Andor, it almost kind of runs into like Bodhi Rook being a separatist pilot and then switching sides. So there definitely are stories to pull from that, and I'm surprised we haven't gotten more of those, because like what made Finn such an interesting character was that he actually had the Force call upon him and like pull him out of his
he defected.
Yeah.
Completely. Yeah, I would love to see a story like that. And right now, I mean, they get it. Like the Clone Wars, it's still finding its identity. You're gonna have kids episodes. You're gonna have like a more adult focused episodes. You're gonna have a lot of kids narratives, and then you're gonna have Ayla Secura and other people dressed the way they are. You're like, this is just everywhere. It's everywhere. You just gotta take the ride for what it is. But no, I mean, look, the lemur people, it was fine. It was cool. There's nothing about it right now and it's not supposed to be, there's nothing about it that's really challenging as of yet. So giving it, a D plus type score feels fair, because very rarely in Star Wars
I felt like it was better than D, which is why my score reflects that.
Yeah,
but
you gave a C minus C's where you gave it like, yeah, and that's, that's fine. But very rarely do we hand out A's.
Oh yeah.
Very rarely on this show. And there's a reason why. It takes the cream of the crop to get there. And B's, it's like, well, there's a few. So lots of C's and a lot of
this B's. Arc blows all of the other arcs that we've reviewed so far out of the water. I'm looking at it right now, and this arc cumulatively scores a 71.05. The second best arc that we've reviewed in Clone Wars was the Nute Gunray arc, most recently, episodes 8 through 10. But yeah, these were definitely our highest rated episodes so far.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they were good. They were solid episodes. And I don't think we have a whole lot more to say about them unless you got something else to say. Otherwise, I think we should go right into the hot takes segment, because they were fine episodes.
Let's do it.
I got nothing else to say. Let's go to the hot takes.
Don't be too proud of this podcast you've constructed. The ability to rank content is insignificant next to the power of an exceptional hot take.
It is hot takes time. I've got a hot take for us.
Do you?
Yeah, I do. I think Ayla Sakura is an overall an incredibly boring character. I know we're only an episode in, but she's literally the most stoic, two-dimensional Jedi. And I mean, she points out a lot of the fallacies within the Jedi Order. Like, oh, I used to have like an attachment with my master, but I saw past that. And, I was able to outgrow it and whatever else. You're like, and I get it. That's like part of the point. She's supposed to be this like stoic, like not even really a person kind of thing, like a lot of the Jedi at this point. But at least Kit Fisto, there's some personality there. There's stuff like there's something to cling to. But like people like Aayla Secura, Mace Windu,
Her personality is midriff.
yeah, that's about it. It's just like you're an incredibly boring character
Mm.
that I don't really know why people, at least we're this far in, why people like to cosplay as you and stuff, because I don't see any like value in you as a character as of yet for like contribution wise. What have you done?
Yeah. And to be fair, her appearances in the films are also not very notable.
No.
So, but in the same way, people love Boba Fett for the same reason.
Midriff.
Yeah, that midriff.
That's Boba's value.
Yes, especially old man Boba.
Oh man, that's totally fine. I loved old man Boba's
Now
midriff.
imagine how powerful Aayla Secura would be if she had a full shirt on. Like she'd be unstoppable. She'd probably overpower Palpatine, and that's why they had to draw her that way.
Yeah, that's probably it.
Because otherwise, like her midriff is like succumbed to the elements, so she's always like kind of cold, and that means that she doesn't have like full range of motion, and that's the last thing that's stopping her from being the ultimate Jedi.
Like you just, I don't even know. Besides that, like, what does she do? Like,
Die?
Yeah, she dies. That's it. She dies, and it's like
Maybe we'll see more. Maybe we'll see more. I'm sure we'll get more.
Yeah, I just don't find her at this current point in time. It's just like I feel like she's overrated. I see a lot of cosplay for her, and I don't even understand like why Aayla Secura when like Ahsoka exists. And
I mean, the name Aayla Secura is pretty badass on its own.
yeah,
Like the name design, fantastic. And maybe that does a lot of the heavy lifting.
yeah.
Is it a hot take that Aayla Secura
It's
is boring and overrated?
Yes.
I'm gonna say milk toast.
Says Brody feels cheated. Milk toast, fine. All right.
You fool! Your take is milk toast.
I will say though, when I was like a 13-year-old kid, I was just like, maybe I'll marry her one day. Like,
Okay, so there was
11.
something.
When I was like 11 and I watched Revenge of the Sith, I was like, hey, shoot my shot one day.
Yeah, I want someone with a midriff like that.
11.
Okay, I have a hot take too.
All right.
I'm just gonna throw out there.
Mhm.
We were watching the episode together before this, and there was a point when Anakin is in recovery and he has like a breathing tube on, and you're like, oh, it sounds like his Darth Vader sound, right?
Yeah.
But my hot take is that he's just breathing. That's just the sound of breathing. That is medically assisted breathing. That is just what it sounds like, and it is not trademarked to Darth Vader.
No, I mean, I don't know if that's a hot take more than it is just you being incorrect. But like, I don't know. I actually went back and rewound it and listened. I'm like, oh no, that's like totally that soundbite. So I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to downvote this one. But I hear you. I just don't agree with you.
I got a bad feeling about this hot take.
Well, with that news, that's been the hot take segment of the show. Should we jump into some of the fun stuff we're doing and what we're working on?
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So this for us was episode. I don't even know. How many episodes have we done of Duel of the Rings at this point?
94?
94. This is episode 95. That is
wow.
insane.
What happens if we like quit at episode 99?
Yeah. Like
we just
99.
hang it up.
Yeah. Just end with the Bad Batch.
Yeah.
Little old 99. No, we're going to keep going. We do have a few fun treats for episode 100. I'm telling you right now, if you're listening in and you're new to the show, go back, maybe listen to an old episode or two, because we have something really special. We've been planning for a long time now. I mean, there's something for episode 100 I've been planning for months that I'm really excited about. We have some fantastic guests. I mean, this is like the Avengers Endgame for us of podcast
Until we get to
episodes.
episode 200.
Until we get to episode 200 and we do it even
all
bigger.
over again.
Yeah, we've got 4 episodes from now, so be sure to be there and watch the whole thing live from beginning to end. We're gonna have some really fun treats. If you're watching us live, I guess another fun thing for us right now, you're gonna note the studio's changed
Different
again.
I'm sitting on, well, I guess your right side if you're watching this, which is typically not how we sit.
No, it's not.
I actually like this side of my face better, so I think we should do this then.
I don't know which side of my face I like more, but I'm here. I'm doing it. But overall, we are going to change a lot about the studio. We did use a different space for a bit there, but we've found a space that's much larger. We're going doing a back-to-back podcast with another show and then this show, so it's just a bit easier. So you're going to be seeing over the next few weeks this backdrop get better and better and better and change. And before you know it, we're gonna have a completely different looking studio. Really excited about that again for like the fourth. We had a great one, but Christian had to leave, and
we just have to. We're always adapting. It shows that the show keeps going on.
Yeah, it's gonna keep. Well, it is gonna keep going on past 100 episodes, but episode 100, be sure to be there. From the last 95 episodes, just out of curiosity for myself, what is the one moment that you really like that sticks out to you when you think about this podcasting journey? Because before Duel of the Ranks, you'd never been a podcast host before.
Yes, that is true. I think anytime that we've had a guest on has been so fun. I've been able to become friends with so many people and connect with their love of Star Wars. I'm so excited for us to release the footage from Celebration because I had so much fun interviewing cosplayers.
Yes.
I love hearing what people love about Star Wars, and it infects me in a positive way. Like, I remember when Mandalorian joined us and was talking about how Kanan is the best Jedi ever. And I was like, finally, someone gets it. Anytime we've had a guest that's been like, The Last Jedi is a great movie, I'm like, yes, this is the best day of my life. And, even some of my Star Wars opinions have changed over time. Like, maybe Solo wasn't as bad of a movie as I thought it was the first time around. That one goes out to you, Christian. What about you?
Oh man, I think my favorite Duel of the Ranks moment was when we were all in London in a living room on the floor recording a podcast. And it wasn't our typical really professional studio setup we had or the tech we had, but it was an iPhone and a Zoom recorder and doing that after having just done all those interviews at Celebration.
Oh, and we had to pass the mic around.
I had to pass the mic around. But that was so cool for me. I'm like, here it is, this podcast from the Midwest of the United States. And here we are in Europe keeping this thing going. And
how about you being recognized?
Yeah, that was pretty wild too. A few different times by people in Spain and wherever else, because people yeah, we listen and you're wrong. And I'm
that's what we want to hear.
Comes with the territory.
Tell me I'm wrong.
I'm like, all right, that's fine. Let's talk about it. So that was wild. It was a lot of fun. But to be able to do that, it's been such a cool ride. And to keep up with it though, as you mentioned, the background's changing. We're changing some branding, some design stuff. We're going to be doing as we're keeping the show going over the next few weeks, we're actually working on a whole lot of new stuff that we're going to be unveiling by the end of this year. We're still going to be putting out some cool stuff, but it's changing by the end of next year. I don't want to say the show's going to be unrecognizable because it's still going to be us too, but the amount of stuff that we're working on that you're going to be able to join in with us on actually watching episodes and stuff in real time. And actually, as we do video game playthroughs and you can join in on that, I am working on a musical cover. I've been working on just practicing the guitar for a song for you, putting it out for you. I'm making this for you. So all of that stuff is coming together and we're doing all these really special things. And it's different. It's different than what we've done before, but I'm just so excited about where it's going.
And I think it's worth reminding our listeners that it is just the two of us that put on the show, and it is truly just out of our passion and enjoyment of Star Wars that we are not like funded or backed by
Yeah, we
anybody.
just love it.
We just do it because we like it, and it's even more awesome that we get to have fans that say that they like it too. Makes it worth doing.
Oh yeah, it's so cool to like go and you see like you see someone dressed up like Kit Fisto, and I'm like, what do you do? He's like, oh, I'm a financial advisor. I'm like, oh, all right, like that's awesome, and it just people just to get a chance to break away from whatever they do and build out that network of other Star Wars fan, that thing that brings us all together. So, I mean, I would love to go to Japan in
Yeah.
next year and go to that celebration, or 2 years from now, but I can already promise that's not going to happen.
But we do have DiadCon to look forward to.
Next May. Really excited about that.
Definitely.
So, KG, I know you follow that. Are you going to go to DiadCon? Let us know. Let us know in the comments if you're going there. We're going to be there. You could tell us as well what we're wrong about, what hot takes, but I'm not backing down. Aayla Secura is a very boring character, and
it's a little milquetoast, but
okay.
Like if you were saying Kit Fisto was a boring character, I would say that's a hot take.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, who's a boring character?
Kit Fisto.
I never said he's a
I know, but if you would have said that, I would have been like,
I was
that's a hot
reading the
take.
comments for a second there, and I'm like, hold on. When
Wait.
did I say this? Kit Fisto.
Yeah, you put these
Dude,
words in your mouth.
I loved Kit Fisto as a kid. He was my favorite Star Wars
He had
character.
so much riz.
Yeah, like he just died, but he looked so cool.
But like, yeah, in episode 2, when he's like, he has like that little smiley face when he's battling all of the,
and he like force pushes C-3PO, and he's got that big old grin afterwards. But he was like tanned there. He's a little more green than he was in episode 3. Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway.
he looks like he put on some weight in episode 3 too. He couldn't move as smoothly as he could in the last one.
One of my favorite Star Wars moments in this last year, man, it's weird how there's some moments that you never would think would have any sort of emotional impact on you, but they do. And one of those for me was when I was watching a TikTok of someone, and they were playing this song Out There from
Hercules?
Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And if you know the story, he's this ugly misfit character nobody likes, and it's a beautiful ballad by the character, and just, again, performed well and beautifully sung. So anyway, this guy's singing, and you see all these clips of Jar Jar. And then you see Ahmed Best afterwards, doors open, and there he is as the song really like reaches its climactic end. And it's just like, there he is, just getting, even in the smallest moment of just love that character deserved, or that actor deserved. And, to see that, but then to see the outcry of fans who are making these videos who just love him, or going to Celebration and fans just in tears, losing their mind for Hayden Christensen, and physically seeing him there crying. Like, it's an exciting time to see this kind of stuff, where I grew up with the prequels, and now we're in an era after so much they were just flat out shit on for most of my life.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that they were until I was older. And now there's an age where it's like, no, we understand they're not written the best, but we love them. And you don't get to treat a person like that.
And I feel like that's exactly how everyone is going to look at the sequel trilogy in about 10 years.
I got a different take on that one.
You say that now.
Well, here's my thing. Okay, here's my one thing. The prequel era, the toy sales were still on fire.
You say this every time, and people don't play with toys anymore. People have video games. They have tablets. They don't care about.
This is also true. Hold on. I'm coming back to that. But you also see, as toy sales from Rey and all this, they weren't selling. They still aren't selling. And they would join John Boyega's character, Finn. None of those toys are selling. I think Kylo Ren did okay. But anyway, the rest, not so much. Then we also see the video games. Obviously, we're not really diving into video games for the sequel era of stuff. Now, also the big difference here, we don't really know what the fans would have said in the prequel era, because we didn't give them a voice. We knew the critics hated it. And back then, when you got the paper or something came back and it said, oh, they suck. Well, I guess they suck. And that's what the consensus was by fans. And yeah, there were a lot of, Gen Xers who went onto YouTube and when that became a thing and openly hated on it. But by that point, the critics had already gotten to it. Now there's a kind of a general like divide between like whether or not it's enjoyable or critically good. And people understand that now with Rotten Tomatoes and other things. Like it doesn't have to be a great critical movie to just to be fun and to be a great time. And people understand that. And the difference with the sequels is there's such an outcry of just hate from fans right now with that toy sales, video game sales not being up, and thirdly, and I think most importantly, if you didn't like the prequels, okay, that's all there was. Well, now it's like, well, you don't like the sequels? Get into Mando. Get into this. So it's like I could see people at best being more meh towards the sequels because they're like, well, everyone was talking about Mando. They weren't talking about the sequels. And they just weren't even focused on it because Disney was so focused on covering up the craziness that was their last movie and started putting out these shows without even asking whether or not they should put them out.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
And now Disney is paying that price over and over again.
Yeah. Still, like hopefully Ahsoka's good. I'm going to believe it's good.
Well, we don't have too much longer until we find out if it's good or not.
What is that, like 13 days?
Yeah, it's in like 2 weeks, I think. Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
And we'll be reviewing the first 2 episodes.
Oh, man. It's actually happening. An Ahsoka TV show. That's so exciting.
It's pretty wild.
Like, Dave Filoni crafted this character forever ago. And now here we are. It's so cool. He and George Lucas. So, well, that's this week's episode of the Duel of the Ranks. I almost said a different show name. And yeah, for Amanda, for the folks that want to follow us, where can they go?
Check us out at dueloftheranks.com, where you can see where all of our episodes have ranked, including our rankings of all of the films. And check us out on everywhere you can listen to podcasts. Give us a 5-star rating, leave us a comment, a review, give us a thumbs up, help engage with that algorithm, tell 5 friends, and then tell 5 friends to tell 5 more friends to check out Duel of the Ranks, because we're going to be going through Ahsoka very soon, and you're going to need a companion to discuss it with. So we hope that you join us.
See you then.